everybody, and welcome back to the Insert Wisdom podcast episode number 4. I know it has been a little while since my last episode, but to be honest with you, that's kind of just the way that I am. I'm not a consistent creator, but I am a creator, so I tend to post things when they feel right, and sometimes that can mean 5 episodes in a week, or it can mean 1 every month, but that's not the point. The point is we are back. Before we get into today's topic, I wanted to talk about something really cool that I noticed. Even though Insert Wisdom only has 3 episodes, I checked the stats on Substack this morning. If you don't know, I run a Substack called The Folklore Library, which I will be talking about more in another podcast episode. But I checked the stats on this podcast, and it has 461 downloads. And the coolest part is, I looked at the countries, and these are all the countries who have tuned into this podcast. Of course, the United States is the most. And then we have the UK, Canada, Australia, Mexico, Netherlands, Germany, Ecuador, Israel, Japan, Singapore, Brazil, Denmark, India, Russia, and Sweden. So if any of you are listening from those countries, hello, from my apartment to yours. Welcome to the podcast. I saw that this morning and I thought that was so cool. So today's episode is all about a bunch of different things. Surrender, being seen, allowing yourself to be seen. This will probably be a little bit of a shorter episode simply because I don't quite have the words yet to form just exactly how I'm feeling. But I feel so happy and complete this morning. I got a notification on my Substack that the Folklore Library is number 66, rising in philosophy. And that just made me feel like my words, what I have to say, my creativity, what I write is important and people enjoy reading it. And hopefully it's conveying the message that I want my work to convey, which is like a kind of remembering or an escape or something that inspires you to want to be more fully yourself, I suppose. This podcast came out of that desire as well. And when I was looking at those stats this morning, I couldn't believe that many countries had tuned into 3 episodes of my podcast. And it's just been one thing after the other. Anyway, you probably don't care about any of that. But this thing of being seen, I want to talk about that today because I know that is a universal fear that people have, or imposter syndrome, or just the fear of being perceived in general. If that is something you even want, not everybody wants to be on social media, not everybody wants to have their work seen or to put themselves out there, and that is also totally valid. For myself, I have always felt like somebody who has a lot to offer, has a lot to say, very creative. I've taken part in pretty much every single artistic venture that you can imagine, from dance to art to writing, acting, podcasting, physical art mediums. You name it, I have probably tried it. And when I was in high school, I was not considered to be the smartest or the most attractive, the most popular, the most anything, right? I was, however, probably considered to be one of the most mysterious out of everybody because I was quiet. I was a trendsetter in a weird way. People would copy me, the way that I dressed and how I did my hair. People were curious about me because I wasn't from Texas. I grew up in San Diego, California, and New Hampshire. And when I got to Texas, everybody was like, who is this girl? And I had immediately branded myself, well, I didn't brand myself, other people branded me kind of an outsider or the heathen. If you don't know, Tyler, Texas is quite a conservative Christian town. There's nothing wrong with being Christian. I think the teachings of Jesus, don't worry, I'm not going to get into religion, but I think the teachings in their fundamental essence are good. But a lot of the people who I went to high school with were not that. They saw somebody who was different, and they decided that I was an outsider because I didn't go to church, because I didn't, do what everybody else was doing. But again, there was this intrigue. People were interested in me. Nobody was mean to me. I just wasn't necessarily seen. I did have periods of time where I was, though. At the end of high school, I was the lead in a musical called Guys and Dolls. And I won it's like the main, like the best actor or something. I can't remember exactly, but it's the best award given to people in theater at my school. And then all of a sudden overnight, I was popular or whatever. But then that died back down again when I went off to drama school. I went to a conservatory. And again, I don't think I was ever considered to be the best. But there was this sort of quiet intrigue that if people got to know me, they would see more. There was more to me than met the eye. But I always had this quiet desire to be seen, not necessarily for fame or anything like that. It was just a matter of frequency. I wanted people to get me. I wanted people to feel what I had to offer and see it, and that maybe it would make a difference in their life, or we could have a talk about it. What I have realized recently is that you can't go out and force the world, people, to pay attention to you. You can't force the world to give you what you want. You have to become what it is that you want first, and then the world will mirror it back to you. And this has taken me a long time to learn that I don't have to try to force anything to happen. I don't need to quote unquote go out and make it happen. I can exist as I am right now, sitting at my desk recording this podcast, or sitting on my balcony writing a Substack article for the Folklore Library. And that is enough, because I am internally feeling like I am seeing my work. I am seeing myself. I am so full of this vision that what I have to offer is already impactful. It's already important. It's already interesting. All the things that I would previously try to go out and force the world to give to me, I gave to myself. Obviously, there is a bit of vulnerability in putting your work out there, putting yourself out there. And to that, if that is the main thing that's holding you back, all I can say is that you need to get over it. And I know that sounds probably a bit harsh, but that's really the reality of that. If you want your work to be seen, if you want to be seen, if any part of you wants to have that kind of connection where something you create can go out into the world and be received, you have to get comfortable with being vulnerable, with throwing your hat into the ring, throwing yourself into the ring, and allowing people to see you. Because that's what it takes. That's what it takes to stand up in front of an audience and let them see you in all your glory. But the catch is, if you already feel that you're worthy to be there, if you already give yourself everything you're hoping the crowd, the audience will give you, you don't even need their validation. You don't even need them to cheer you. If they boo you, that's fine too, because you already feel that what you have to offer is important. And when it comes to building this kind of tolerance to vulnerability, the more you do it, the easier it gets. If you say, let's take, Substack, for example. You want to start a Substack, but you're afraid of what people might say. the people in your family, your friends, whoever it is. First of all, who cares what your friends and family thinks? I guarantee you they're probably not even thinking about it all that much. If you are afraid of that, just take one little step in that direction. I don't know what they're called on Substack. I think they're just called thoughts. But I'm going to relate it to threads because I really enjoy threads. I know we hate Mark Zuckerberg. I do too, but I do really enjoy threads. I've gotten a lot from threads, but you write a post, you write a thread, and then you put it out there. And then whatever happens with that, you're okay with it. You get no interaction, or you get a ton of interaction, or medium interaction. All of it is serving how you directly feel about yourself. And it's all an experiment. It's all something that you can derive a lesson from. But the more you do it, the easier it gets. And something that I have learned, because I have gone viral on TikTok multiple times. If you didn't know, I have 86,000 followers on TikTok. That took a steep learning curve for me because I definitely have posted things in the past that were nothing crazy at all, but I was attacked multiple times by various people who thought what I had to say was stupid, or, oh, who's this blonde, dumb bimbo, whatever. You kind of just have to accept it, not in a way that you're believing what they're saying, but you take in the words if you choose to even read the comments, and then you let it go. I've been reading a lot of Eckhart Tolle this year, or Tolle, I'm not sure how you say his last name, but he says that so much of suffering is caused by the inability to accept the present moment, or the isness of the present moment. So he tells this story in one of the books where there's this guru who's accused of fathering a child with a local woman, and the parents of the woman bring the child to him and they say, "This was your doing, you're going to take care of this child now." And the guru says, "Is that so?" And then he takes the kid in, takes care of it for however long, I don't remember. And then the woman admits that he was never the father to begin with. So the parents come back and they apologize to him, and he says, "Is that so?" And then there's like another part of that story. But the point is that whatever happened, he said, "Is that so?" There is an acceptance. You don't have to lay down. You don't have to like it. But if you develop the habit of saying, "This is the way things are, I can accept that," and still show up, still fill yourself with the joy of your creation, the acceptance and love for yourself, and to feel the feeling of already having what it is you think posting's going to give to you, or being seen is going to give to you, then it's almost like you don't even need to be seen. You know what I mean? And then if you are seen, that's just a nice bonus. But if you embody that feeling already of being seen, and it feels good and you love it, then the rest is just, I don't even know if I have words for it. The rest is just, it just is. I think I do not pretend to always understand the things that I say, or I'm not trying to explain anything to you. I think I've retired that role in my life. I am not an explainer. I am somebody who drops things that I think or I write, and I let you decide what it means to you. Because quite frankly, I don't care to explain anything to people. I don't really want to be a teacher. I just want to embody what I have to offer, and then you can take away whatever you want from it. But I suppose let's go ahead and start wrapping this episode up. If you are somebody who's afraid of being seen, or you have imposter syndrome, don't. And I can hear some people already scoffing at that and being like, "What do you mean don't? What are you saying don't? It's a real fear I have." No, I understand. I do. I completely do. But there are two ways to look at that. You can either go inward and ask yourself, what's the worst thing that can happen? And then imagine that happening. And then feel in your body, is that even that bad? If that were to happen? Probably not. None of this is real anyway, right? All of life is a game. Everything is just here to serve your higher purpose and for helping you grow as a person. So would getting a couple of mean comments really matter all that much from strangers on the internet? No. No, it would not. So, do the thing. Make your art. Show up in the world how you want to show up in the world. Do it from a place of already feeling like you have arrived. Give that to yourself first, and then it doesn't matter as much if you end up being seen or not, because you already feel that you are. The universe has a way of tailoring our outside world to meet our inside world if you hold that frequency long enough. You can also ask yourself, what is my first memory of being rejected, abandoned, not seen? What is my first memory of that? What does it look like? What does it feel like? What do you see, smell, taste? Bring that forward. What happened? What made you feel that way? And then release it. Forgive. Realize that it was just a test. It was just something coming up in your life to bring you closer to the best version of yourself. Because fear is such a poison. It's an illusion. I wrote about it in one of my previous posts on Substack called You Are the Sky, book 47. And again, I will explain the whole book thing in the folklore library in another episode. Fear was only ever meant to be there as a need for us to get out of dangerous situations. Like if we're being stalked by a lion or something. It was never meant to be there for everyday experiences. But because we live in a world where we're not living in forests anymore, we're not under constant physical attack anymore the way we once were, that can turn into a mental thing. It can turn into something that is even more invisible because it only exists in our mind. That's it. So be beautiful, be expansive, feel the joy of being alive in what you create. And who cares if you are seen or not, if you're validated or not, if you are understood or not. If you understand and see and validate yourself, then you have already won. So, I hope that this was helpful. I hope that this was on topic. I think that it was. This is just what I had to say today. I just have to thank all of you so much for downloading the podcast, listening to it, leaving reviews on Apple and Spotify or wherever you're listening to this. I saw for the first time that my podcast had gotten ratings on Apple Music and on Apple Music and Spotify. I don't know who, but I think it's 2 or 3 people left 5-star reviews. I was so tickled by that. You create these things in isolation, right? And you don't necessarily think that people are going to pay attention to them, or I don't know. It's like, it's so cool. Actual people are listening to my podcast and reading my articles on Substack and, et cetera, et cetera. So I want to thank you so much for being a part of this with me. I have loved creating all of my content with you. Don't forget to check out, I think I have links to it directly in the description of every podcast, but links to all my socials. You can find me pretty much everywhere except for Twitter. And if you want to read more about the Folklore Library, check that out on my Substack page. I will be making an episode in the future about the Folklore Library, but that has to gestate a little bit. Let me know if you have any questions or suggestions for future topics on the Insert Wisdom podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.